Let them answer that, if you want to come back on this.
I think that point is the point at which you see the ultimate danger of the argument the proponents of this motion are making. That what they are calling for, that in order to uphold this motion, you have to agree with the Hamas view of the Middle East, which is one that calls for the destruction of Israel. That is what you are being asked to support and to vote for today by the proponents of this motion. You're being asked to vote for war, you're being asked to vote for genocide, and you're being asked to vote for a war which will drag you in.
I think with all due respect, I think that is a misrepresentation of the facts of the matter. I think you said earlier that Hamas was looking for legitimation. It is not. Hamas has already gained electoral legitimacy. And either elections mean something or they don't. You cannot choose your enemy and you cannot decide for the people and not respect their decision. This is one matter. The other aspect of it is that unilateralism did not work with the PA, so there are certainly no chances that it's going to work with Hamas. Finally, I think that Hamas must be represented as what they are, namely clean-cut, modern-oriented technocrats of the likes that we've seen with the 15 or so women that were fielded in the elections, people that are doing social services, that are working and gain legitimacy in the community. There is a military wing, which you mentioned. That is the case with any independence movement. Sir, if I may, you do have these movements that are multifaceted but cohesive, which in fact allows for continuity within the movement, as opposed to what we've seen with Fatah, which is fundamentally corruption and a puppet regime.
One sentence. I want you to notice from this that what we're hearing here is not the language of realism, which is a reluctant acceptance of killers. It is an endorsement of them.
And who were the killers before 1992? The apologists for Israel have always blamed everyone but themselves.
Okay.
Before Hamas ever existed, there was another killer.
Okay.
It's not reluctant acceptance, it is endorsement.
Can we just let each other speak, please? And can we move on to a question from you, sir?
What will Hamas gain from not renouncing violence and from denying the fact of the Israeli government? What will this help them in the end of the road? Will it change the fact of what's happening?
The fact of the matter is both Musa Abu Marzouk and Ismail Haniyeh said today that, look, we will discuss the issue of the existence, the right of existence of Israel at a point and at a time. But at this particular time, we are occupied. We are under occupation. We are a resistance movement. People have asked us to represent them in struggling against the resistance movement. What Israel wants and what the West wants is guarantees of security before they end the occupation. Hamas has been very clear. The Arab League in 2002 spoke, and Hamas has joined on to that position. Roll back to 1967, and it's over. There's a resolution. So, to the degree that you ask Hamas to renounce violence, great. I would advise Hamas to renounce violence when Israel announces violence.
A question will come back on that.
But do you think that this will help, end the occupation of the Israeli people to Palestinian people?
I'm less concerned about what they say than what they do.
Actually? Do you think it's going to help?
I think in the end that Hamas will have to renounce violence, and the funding is going to not come back until they do. And no one will identify Hamas as a political party from the Western people today unless they do.
I'm less concerned with the rhetoric of government than what happens on the ground. George Bush was against nation building. Where are we in Iraq? We're in Iraq all of a sudden for nation building. Governments historically make broad pronouncements that are rhetoric.
Anybody else from the audience? Do you want to come back one more time?
This problem has to be resolved by renouncing violence, because violence will never do any good for Hamas, especially because the Israelis are not going to just leave. With violence, without violence, in both ways, the Israelis are going to stay.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a lady behind you who wants to ask a question. Thank you.
This question is for the members of the panel against the motion. Isn't democracy allowing the people to make their own decisions? So if the Palestinians have chosen, why should the international community, and especially the West, who keeps talking about democracy, interfere?
Salim Mansour, let me ask you first.
Governments are, in a democratic society, the representative of the people. And so most Western democracies have to be in tune with their own people and their own people. I'm coming from Canada, and the Canadians are debating this issue. And the Canadians are not satisfied that the Hamas, subsidizing Hamas, is in the interest of Canada. And I assume that is most of the Western democracies are faced with. This is the learning process. Now the Palestinians have to learn and will learn through the democratic processes that their decisions have consequences. They have elected Hamas, so we respect the Palestinian choice. But that doesn't mean that we'll turn around and respect their outcome.
We can't see that they respect it. We can see that the Westerners respect the choice of the
David Frum,
Palestinians.
did you want to come in on this?
I want to say I concur exactly with Professor Smith that you asked why do governments represent their people. The American government represents the people of the United States. The governments of Europe represent their people. The partnership that that this resolution discusses, which is not a partnership that Hamas has asked for, is about a flow of money in excess of $1 billion a year from the United States to the European Union. That's what Hamas wants to see continue. That the voters of the Palestinian Authority can elect the government they want, but they cannot vote for the foreign aid policies of the United States and Europe. And the United States and Europe would be wise not to give money into the hands of people who, as Mr. Cohen said, where there is no difference between the so-called civilians and the terrorist wing, and a party that is committed to war in the Middle East and to the annihilation of the state of Israel.
Hamas is not asking for anything from the West right now. It is the West that is trying to impose, for its own selfish strategic priorities, their rule on Hamas.
You want
Hamas's
the money, here are the
position,
terms.
keep the money. Somehow I suspect the Palestinian people who have survived everything since 1948 will do fine without your money. Somehow I suspect the Palestinians
Are they
will
going to go
survive.
for Iran's money? Are they going to go for Syrian money?
Maybe they'll do a fundraiser on television like Jerry Lewis does a telethon.
Isn't that
Maybe every
David Trump
Palestinian in the world will throw in $2. They don't need your money.
David Frum, isn't the risk if you cut off the money that they'll look to Iran? You don't want that happening, do you?
They already received money from Iran, and they already received money, in fact, from sponsors of terror throughout the region. But understand that is this relationship of partnership. Hamas is not asking for partnership. They are asking for war.
You don't know what they're asking.
Could you let him finish, please?
Take their charter seriously. Take their own, give them at least this respect of taking their own words seriously. And I think there is a gap here between the two people on the opposing side, because I think one does know. I think Mr. Cohen really does know. They're not kidding. They are serious. Now, his partner is not so sure. He's hoping they'll change. They don't mean it. But
do you want to speak for yourself here?
Give them the credit of believing they do, and what they mean is war and danger for you, and that is what you're being asked to vote for.
Okay, Dr. Mohamedou, you want to come in?
Thank you very much, Mr. Frum, for trying to divide the other side. Obviously, I know what I'm talking about, and I think as you were talking, I was thinking this is not necessarily a matter of money, it's a matter of principle. The question by the young lady spoke to the mainstay of this, which is a matter of legitimacy and a matter of elections. Now, when you speak about Hamas, it is you, I believe, who has an imagined picture of these people. These people, as has been demonstrated, have done social work, have credentials that are untainted in relation to their local and immediate legitimacy. Then when you speak of them not necessarily asking for partnership internationally, that is precisely the opposite of what happened. A good 10 days ago, they did come out and invite the international community to engage with that election and respect its results. And this is precisely what the international community should be doing. It is not a matter of hoping that they would change. It's a matter of seeing the evolution within the Palestinian conflict, having gone from a conflict characterized by violence, we have a chance of entering a true peace of the strong, as I said. When Ariel Sharon was elected president of Israel, nobody asked the Israelis to change their mind. A man whose past was tainted with accusations of being a war criminal. People engage with that. And indeed, what we saw is the ability to deliver on the disengagement from Gaza. This is the real world that we're talking about right now. This is the real people from Hamas whose views must be respected, whose legitimacy has been established, and with whom the international community should engage.
We do respect Hamas's view. That's why we respect Hamas's view. And we are asking you, and we are asking the international community, and I'm speaking to you as a Muslim to Muslim, that by engaging and supporting Hamas, you are then, by your vote, by your resources, by your finances, indicating that this is the Islam that represents you.
All right.
This is okay.
Let me just.
It's about occupation.
All right.